All right, let's talk about some fights that are coming up, huh? Some big fights. Not about UFC 281 yet, though. I'm going to go live and talk about that later. But I want to talk about a fight that's going to be off, which is going to be Islam Makhachev against Alexander Volkanovski. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because someone else is filling in. Someone else is going to fill into that. No, it's not Connor. It's not Connor. But I want to talk about Connor, too, because I think he's on juice for real now. Like, I really do think he's on juice. And I say that because look at his legs. Look at his legs, dude. Okay? Come on, dude. Come on. You can't put muscle on a body like that without juice. No one is that gifted genetically. No one. No one is that gifted genetically. No one. No one can put on meat like that on their thighs. I don't care how many squats you do. I don't know how many curls you do. I don't care. You can't do it. Your thighs are too big. It's okay, though. Because do I look like a person who's, in a position to throw rocks at people for injecting testosterone into their body? Because I'm not. I'm just not in a position to do that. So there's that. But someone else is going to step into that fight, Islam versus Volkanovski. We're going to talk about that. And I think there's another fight that's coming, and that is Sean O'Malley against Chito Vera for the interim belt. Although there are some caveats there, too, because that's the one Sean's asking for, and it makes perfect sense. And I'll tell you exactly why. All right. Now, before I get into it, if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe and tell all of your friends. Actually, the deal that we make on this channel is if you watch a lot of my content, if you've ever watched 3 videos of mine, we'll do 3. If you've ever watched 3 videos of mine and you're not subscribed, I'm sorry, that's the deal, dude. You can watch as many videos of mine as you want. Even if you hate me or you love me, like it doesn't matter. Hate me, love me, regardless. I don't charge you guys except for a subscription. It's free. It's literally free. All you have to do, click subscribe. That's your payment, dude. That's the deal. I appreciate it very much. So anyway, so let's start with the Volkanovski and Islam Makhachev fight, because that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Spoiler alert, it's not going to happen. Because, well, there is a very small chance that it happens. And I'll tell you what that small chance is if Dustin Poirier and Chandler sucks. If that fight sucks, then yeah, Volkanovski will probably get the fight. But I don't think it's going to suck. Now, there are no set plans on this. I can tell you that for sure, because me and Chandler were texting back and forth about it on Saturday or Sunday, and he doesn't know. So if he doesn't know, nobody knows. But he's talking about, and I'm sitting there like, I'll tell you exactly what I said to him. I said, if you knock Dustin Poirier out on your feet, like if you guys are standing up and you knock him out, you couldn't talk your way out of that fight. Like if you knock Dustin out on the feet, you are going to get a title shot for absolutely 100% sure. And that's just the truth. If he wins by knockout, he'll get the title shot for sure. If Dustin wins by knockout, he'll probably get a title shot. Not as certain as Chandler, but still very, very, very likely. And the reason for that is because the UFC can run a model and go like this. Okay, if we do Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev, how does that perform? And they go, okay, well, what if we did, I don't know, pick someone, Michael Chandler versus Islam Makhachev. How does that perform? Oh, Chandler does better. Okay, right. Okay, well, we can't give it to Chandler unless he wins. Okay, cool. So if he's got to win. All right, what about Dustin? It's like, well, if Dustin Poirier fights him, the Dustin Poirier and Islam fight does better. They're all, oh. Okay, well, why on earth would we do the Volkanovski fight then? They're all, I don't know. He was the backup to save the Oliveira and Islam fight. So just seemed like it made sense. People were saying things, and I don't know. I mean, maybe, maybe. I would say that basically Volkanovski is the backup fight for Islam Makhachev in case Poirier and Chandler is a garbage fight. That's what I would say. Or if it's so close. Actually, if it's a banger, and one of them wins, even by decision, they're still going to get it. They're still going to get it, dude. They're still going to get it. But if one of them win by knockout, they're really going to get it. And also, here's the other thing. There's also more factors here to consider, which is what happens to 45 if Volkanovski goes up to fight Islam, okay? Because that might take a while. That's a big fight, dude. That's a big fight. You're going to put 45 on hold for that long? And let's say that Volkanovski loses. Let's say he loses. Okay, which honestly, I mean, do you want Islam Makhachev to lose? Of course not. Of course not. You got Khabib part 2. That part, dude, I did videos about Islam after he won that did gangbusters numbers. That's what the UFC's looking at. So they know Islam Makhachev, very popular in that part of the world. They don't want him to lose, you know? And if Volkanovski's like, okay, so Volkanovski's double champ. What does that do for the UFC, dude? Like, they've already got enough talent at 55. There's no reason to do that. And here's another thing that I will point out. Well, first, let me finish the thing at 45. What do you do at 45? What if Volkanovski wins? What do you do at 45? You know, like Volkanovski just pieced Holloway up, dude. You can't have Holloway be the champion down there now. Not after that fight. You know, so like there's no one to slide in there at 45. Volkanovski's the champion. He's the solid champion. But if he goes to 55 and wins, it messes everything up. And also, you know, I just had I had a really strong point that I was going to make. And then I was like, oh, wait, let me finish the 45 one, the 55. Jeez. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, whatever. Bottom line is there's a ton of fights at 55. And if Islam loses and you got Volkanovski, I mean, like, yeah, are any of those fights more exciting than you know, Dustin Poirier versus Islam? You know, Dustin Poirier versus Volkanovski? Like, those aren't, like, you're trading, you know, half a dozen of one for 6 of the other. You know, I don't think that's the exact term, but you guys understand what I'm saying, right? So I don't think it's going to happen. And when people started saying they didn't think it was going to happen and the UFC didn't push back and no one pushed back, I don't think it's going to happen, you know? Volkanovski's better at 45. Just be a dominant champion there. You know, for now. If you get a total, you know, clusterfuck at 55 where it's like, all right, there's not really anyone that's kind of in the mix, but like you got a brand new champion there and you got a bunch of stars in line to fight him. You got Gaethje, you got Poirier, you got Chandler, you got lots of guys. You got Darius, who's won 100 in a row. You know what I mean? You got a lot of guys. So, yeah, there's that. There's someone else, too, that's on a huge win streak that I'm blanking on right now. Anyway, whatever. But so let's move over to Conor McGregor really quick because, dude, come on. Again. Come on, dude. Look at his legs. Look at his legs. And I say this with all due respect to Conor because I love Conor. I will always root for Conor. But I'm just saying, like, I'm in the business of making content about UFC, and there's been a lot of talk about Conor McGregor's lack of USADA testing. And the next picture you see of him, he looks like someone surgically opened up his calf or his thigh and just shoved muscle into it. Like they're like, here, just shove it, and he's like, yes. I mean, come on, dude, come on. Because if that's not roids, give me whatever the fuck he's on, dude. Give it to me. I mean, give it to me either way, actually. Give it to me. Okay? I want thighs like that. You know? I mean, I don't actually. I don't want anything that he has. I don't want his money. I don't want his thighs. I don't want any of those things, you know? But yeah, so there's that. Now, Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley. Interesting. Sean said he thinks that Chito Vera and him should fight for the interim title because Aljamain doesn't want to fight until like whatever, June of next year or something. Now, that is a very he's the number one contender. He could say a thing like that. He can say a thing. He can be like, dude, you're holding up the whole entire division because he is. Now, I mean, look, if I were Aljamain, like, and they were like, oh, I want you to fight Cejudo, I might be like, hey, listen, Cejudo, tell you what, how about you take the winner of me versus Sean O'Malley because that's going to sell gangbusters numbers, and I would like to get the pay-per-view points when I fight Sean O'Malley. You know, I mean, I understand, dude. I completely understand, dude. Fight camps are brutal, dude. They're miserable. Of course you want some time off. But at the same time, you got a superstar in the number one contender position who is chomping at the bit. You know, he's not like any other contender, dude. Like, Sean O'Malley is very close to like what Frank Mir said in our first Fight Companion. When he was saying like, one of the reasons they didn't want, Francis to go fight boxing is because it's not the same as when Conor does it. Because when Conor does it, you still kind of have the thing where you're like, look, it's Conor, dude. And other fighters can't really say anything because they're like, that's true, it is Conor. It's not the same. And O'Malley is pretty fucking close to that now. Like, they're not going to let him go fight boxing. But like, if they move the chessboard around a little bit in favor of favorable matchups for O'Malley, or they do an interim title fight or whatever, like, that stuff's going to happen for him. And everybody just accept it because it's going to happen. And complaining about it is pointless. You know, if I were a fight manager, I would just be telling guys, look, accept it as part of the knowns. Like, that's something you know. How do we capitalize on that? Okay, like us complaining, like, why don't we get those matchups? That's not going to help us. Like, that doesn't help us. What we need to do is figure out how that can help us. And if you're Aljamain, simple. Demand the fight. Get the fight. Get the pay-per-view points. Take his shine. I'm sure that you think you can beat him. I mean, because everyone thinks they can beat everyone, right? That would be what I would do. But if you're going to sit out, Sean saying he wants to fight for an interim belt is smart. And I understand why you want, I mean, you know, like, obviously common sense also would be like, why doesn't he do it against Cejudo? That's a good question. But for O'Malley, he wants to get that Chito fight back, obviously. And Chito's a pretty big star, dude. Chito's a pretty big star now and a good dude. So it kind of makes sense. The only reason it wouldn't make sense is because Dana entered Cejudo's name into the fray and said, we're going to do Cejudo against Aljamain. That's the only reason why a Chito versus O'Malley fight might not make sense for an interim belt. But Aljamain sitting out for 7-8 months, that's a long time, dude. It's just a long time. It's not necessarily a long time if you've cleared the division out, right? Like if you're Kamaru and you beat like everyone, that's, you know, and you're like, look, I don't want to fight until the middle of the year, whatever. I mean, it's different. But dude, Aljamain, he's that guy. He won the belt off of Peter Yan. He defended the belt once against Peter Yan, who was the champion, and then he beat TJ Dillashaw. That's one defense. TJ Dillashaw hasn't even been in the mix, dude. So you basically have this, you know, bantamweight of killers, dude, who have all been fucking haggling, trying to get in position for title shots. And, you know, he's just not, in my opinion, he's not really in a position to say like, oh, I'm not going to fight for 8 months, in my opinion. I mean, well, at least not without there being an interim belt put on the line, especially when you have Sean O'Malley sitting right there to do it. Anyway, that's what I got. Love you guys.